Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I think Beth Johnson is going to continue letting people in from the waiting room, but we're going to go ahead and get started since it is 6 o'clock. Thanks for joining us for our speaker series, which is on Ready, Set, Kindergarten. So this is for parents of incoming kindergartners for the 2026-2027 school year. If you are brand new to Lindbergh School District, welcome. We're happy to have you. If you already have students in the Lindbergh School District, welcome back. Ready for another run with us. So we have some speakers tonight. We're going to go through what we think are some of the important facts that you'll want to know before you get ready for kindergarten. And I'm on the other end of this. I have a senior in high school and I have a senior in college. But I remember fondly what it was like when they first went to kindergarten. So I hear my wife clearing her throat in the kitchen, and she's a kindergarten teacher in another district. I think that's what the signal was, that I have to recognize that as well. So I like to, by proxy, know a lot about kindergarten. But things go by in the blink of an eye. So enjoy the ride, and we'll hope to provide some answers for you here tonight. If I could introduce the speakers, I'm Craig Hamby. I'm the Director of Elementary Education and Professional Learning for the Lindbergh School District. With me tonight are Dr. Sarah Valter. She is our District Literacy Coordinator. Mrs. Claire Eads, who is a kindergarten teacher at Dressel. Mrs. Jen Eilers, who is a special education teacher at Sappington Elementary, but she works with kindergarten students. Mrs. Alyssa Hufker, who is a kindergarten teacher at Kinnerly, and Mrs. Stephanie Meesey, who is a kindergarten teacher at Long Elementary. So glad to have the all-star lineup here this evening, and they're going to go through and present a lot of information for you. As we go along, we'll have quite the time for questions at the end, but we have a Q&A section here on Google Meet. So feel free to type questions into that at any time. I will be watching those. I may answer it directly in the Q&A board, or I may stop the presenters and ask that question so everyone can hear it. And also, this video will probably be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. Let's see. And I got a message from one of the spies who is a teacher at the district, who's also going to be an incoming kindergarten parent, that the Q&A is theirs, and she used it, so it is working. She says, "How much does lunch cost?" So I don't know if that's a facetious question. She was just testing it out, or she really wants to know how much lunch costs. But we'll come back to that one. And with all that being said, I think we're ready to go to the next slide, Beth. If I didn't mention it, Beth Johnson, our Chief Communications Officer, is working the slides for us tonight. So kindergarten registration starts on February 3rd, and it runs through March 23rd. So during this window is when we want to get as many of our kindergarten students registered as possible. One of the things you will get when you register is there'll be a link to each school when they have screenings. So it will be a time to come back later, late April, May. We even have some that happen in the summer. The ones that happen in the spring are at Lindbergh Central Office. You bring a child up, and the kindergarten teachers from that building will run them through a little screening to see how prepared they are for kindergarten. And then they might give you a little feedback on, before kindergarten starts, here's some things, that your child could do well. Here's some things you might want to work on before the first day of school. So that is one of the things you will get when you register. The district registrar, that's the email. That QR code will take you to our website with the district registration page. There's two different kinds of registration. There are new family registration, and there's existing family. So if you have a child already in Lindbergh, you are going to choose existing family. If your child currently goes to our Lindbergh Early Childhood Program, you should have received a survey, an email, and filled out some information, which means they will roll over automatically if you filled that out. If you did not get that or did not fill that out, you will want to go ahead and click one of the registration links or email the registrar. If you are a brand new family to us, then of course, you're going to use the new family registration link. And Michelle McCroy, one of the people that will be working on that registration, just joined the program, so maybe she can weigh in later. Enrollment. So this is kind of what it looks like. New families, new to the district. You previously had or if you had someone you went here before and you're coming back, you are considered a new family. If you currently have students, that is what makes you an existing family. And then every spring, every family from the time you're in kindergarten through when they are seniors in high school, you will go through annual verification, which means every year you have to get into our student information system, which is called Infinite Campus. And you go in and you update all of your information each year. Let's see. And with that, we're going to jump ahead into, I'm going to let Mrs. Eilers talk. Some of our students come out of early childhood education, and they already have what's called an IEP, an individualized education plan, where we provide some special services for those students outside of the normal classroom. So I'm going to let Jen talk about that for a moment. I think I'm going to let Jen talk about that for a moment.
Got it. All right.
The old microphone might have gotten
flip to the next screen. Perfect. So when you go through that process of registering your child, as Craig kind of went over, some of the information on there is going to ask you about that IEP. You're going to indicate in that registration process if your child has an IEP, and they're going to ask you some other questions about that. If your child is currently attending early childhood in Lindbergh, your future elementary school team that made up of like the principal, the kindergarten teacher, a special education teacher, they will actually attend your child's IEP meeting that will be typically in the spring of this year, attending for next year. So we would attend to that meeting, get to know your child. We would learn about all the accommodations and everything that your child would need. If your child does not attend Lindbergh Early Childhood but does have an IEP, again, you will put that information in that registration link, but then we will get that information through special school district or through you if they are receiving services outside of special school district currently. Then your special ed teacher that is in your building is going to work very closely with that kindergarten teacher and with you to make sure that we have all of the information and make sure that the kindergarten teacher also has all of the information they need for the start of the school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Eilers. There's one, before we have Mrs. Meese get into pre-academics, one of the things I neglected to mention is on the registration page, there is what we call our boundary map. So if you're unsure, I'm not sure which elementary my student is going to go to, you can put in your address and it will tell you exactly which of the buildings you'll be going to. All right, Mrs. Meese.
Hi. Thanks, Beth. I'm going to talk today a little bit about some self-help skills. It would be very beneficial for kindergartners to know most of these and be able to do these independently before entering kindergarten. In a kindergarten classroom, most of the time, there is only one teacher with the student. So obviously our job is to be helpful and to teach and do what we can, but we're also only one human that can help all these. So it'd be really nice if they could, especially in the winter months right now, practice putting on their coat, being able to zip up their coat independently. If they're not able to tie tennis shoes, which I know a lot of kindergartners coming in are not, please purchase Velcro shoes for them. It just makes our lives a little bit easier and it's a little safer. Making sure they can kind of clean up their area after themselves, picking up their toys. We do have free choice time in our rooms and Play-Doh time and everything like that. So being able to pick up after themselves is not only a helpful skill for us, but it's helpful in life. Being able to follow a routine and a schedule, listening and following rules. We start the school year off with very simple one-step directions, repeating, but we quickly move into two-step, three-step. And now, you know, we're telling them those routines. I'm telling you, I want you to do this, 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 and this, go. Practice eating from their lunchbox and opening any containers that they might need for lunch, for classroom snack. If you send them to school with a lunchbox that has an ice pack in it, kind of show them, here's where the ice pack goes. I want you to come home with all the things that I sent to you. Being able to open water bottles and use those independently. Does it have a push? Does it have a flip top? So that they can figure those out and be able to get a drink whenever they need to. asking for help, being able to advocate for themselves, using those writing tools. So we do go over a lot of that beginning of the school year, proper pencil grip, posture, opening and closing your markers, your glue sticks. But it is really helpful if they have seen and used those tools before and they know what they're used for. And then being responsible for all of their own supplies. If you send them to school with their hat and their mittens and their coat and their backpack and their lunchbox, being able to get all of that back home to you with minimal help from an adult.
All right, and then I always get the fun one here. So toilet training. So we expect all of our school-age children to be toilet trained by the time they start kindergarten. So that means they need to be able to use the restroom independently, use the restroom, clean themselves, wash their hands, refasten their pants, and make their way back to class. So we don't have extra, like Mrs. Meesey said, there's just one kindergarten teacher. We don't have any assistants necessarily in those classrooms. So we do ask that if your child is not there yet, that we have some time. You have until August 25th, I believe, to do some practicing and get that taken care of. Of course, we'll work with you. We'll work with every child to make sure they're successful. But this is an expectation that we have, that all students can use the restroom independently when they're in kindergarten. Also, though, accidents happen, always happen. So we do ask that all families or all students have just in a Ziploc bag, they put an extra change of clothes that we keep at school, and those would be there in case someone had an accident and we'd have to change clothes at school. Kindergarten teachers will have a lot more information on that when you come to meet the teacher night or the kindergarten orientation, which will happen in August. Thank you, Beth. All right, I believe this is Mrs. Eads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about play. And a lot of times, especially to adults, I think play can seem frivolous or extra. But for children, it really is true that play is the work of children. And we'll play every day of kindergarten. And a lot of these games will require taking turns or sharing. So that's a good thing that you can practice at home. And like all of these things that are up here, they really help build problem solving skills. They help with math, reading, writing skills, things that they might learn explicitly at a different part of the day, or maybe like a more structured part of the day, but it's something that they learn through experiences during play. So learning to take turns. Sorry, my cats are fighting right now. You might have heard them. But discussing scenarios where, hey, maybe you ask a friend to play, but they don't want to play. And that's okay if you have a friend who doesn't want to play with you. And modeling and practicing those kinds of conversations, like asking a friend to play, being okay if they don't want to play, having a conversation, and using words to say how they're feeling. And that's something you can, maybe you're already doing that, but you can also start practicing that now. Also, imaginative play is great. Whenever you're playing with something, maybe they're playing with blocks or magnetiles, you can ask like, oh, what is this? Tell me more about what you built. Or if they're playing with dolls, craft supplies, maybe you're asking them more questions to go a little bit deeper even into what they're playing with. We also love to practice good manners, saying please and thank you. And just, again, really that ability to take turns and share and maybe wait for your turn. Those are all things that are important all the time, but especially when there are, 25-year-olds who are sharing. Outside play, we all do a lot of outside play in kindergarten. So you'll hear a lot about that from your child next year, and playing on the playground and things like that. But also you can do that now too, including lots of different kinds of play.
Just to add to that before we move into literacy, the the dynamic in the classroom is a little bit different than it is at home. Maybe even a little different as in pre-K. So it's not unusual. Sometimes students are going to be told, no, it's not time to play with that now. So getting used to like following a schedule, and maybe they don't get to do what they want to immediately, or get to play with certain friends, or if they don't get what they want, sometimes they're going to come home and say, I was bored. And it's really not that they were bored. It's things didn't go the way they wanted to. So there's a lot of the games that we play with at school, the materials used, there's only so much. So we have to make sure those are distributed evenly among the students. And sometimes that's tough for our youngest kiddos to deal with. So working on that with them, of being patient, just to reiterate what Mrs. Flesh said, being patient, what to do if you're told, no, I can't do that right now. Or when it's time, even though you don't want to, but it's time to pick this game up and put it away, kind of working on how do I deal with those things so I can be used to that when I'm in the kindergarten classroom. And before we move on to literacy with Dr. Valter, just want to remind everyone, if you have questions, you can put those in the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer. And the one that I did get was how much is lunch cost? So I don't know if this was a test question or a real question, but $3.75 is the rate for this year. It will be close to that, if not exactly the same next year, but that's the rate. So, all right, now let's talk a little literacy with Dr. Valter.
All right, thank you. So building on what Mrs. Eads said, one of the most important things you can do is engage your child in play, because they're building early literacy skills across those. But I'm going to share a few things that you can do, if they're not already habits in your home, to get your child ready for a lot of literacy experiences when they hit the ground running in kindergarten. So the most important thing that you can do right now is just read together daily, carve out time. We want children to be able to sit and listen to a story for enjoyment when they come to kindergarten. You can help them by discussing the front cover and back cover, making sure they know how to turn the pages, how to handle books. Talk about what happened in a story, or new ideas or favorite parts. A lot of times we talk about, retelling a story, which is really important. But it's also important that we read informational books with kids about things that they're interested in. So asking them, what did you learn from this book? What did you really like? What questions does this book make you think about? Make reading a fun and regular part of your routine. So I know at my house, when my kids were little, it was always, bath time, story time, bedtime every night, just so it was a routine and it was regular and very predictable. And you may already be in that phase of life where your child is asking you to reread their favorite book over and over and over. And even though you may be very tired of Goodnight construction site, it is really, really important that you indulge that request and repeatedly read the same books. Kids build understanding that way. They build vocabulary. So it's okay if they're stuck on one book to read that book as many times as they want you to read it. Next slide, please. Another big component, in addition to being able to handle books with respect and care, is oral language. So there are a lot of literacy skills that build upon the language that kids come into kindergarten with. So giving your child opportunities to storytell, whether it is a real story about something that happened when you were or weren't together, or they're the kind of child that makes up big stories, having them have that opportunity to tell you stories. Build on vocabulary and knowledge. So everyday experiences, going to the grocery store, going to the bank, whatever that might be, make sure you give them new words to think about and are building that background knowledge. Sometimes it's big trips where we're taking vacations or going to the zoo. Sometimes it's just those everyday things where you can be building a lot of word knowledge. We mentioned this earlier with readiness skills, but that conversational turn taking is really important, being able to answer questions and ask questions back. And then we start to work on the precursor to reading and writing is being able to hear sounds and words. So rhyming games, having kids do things like, can you pick up all of your toys that start with the B sound? So just starting to get them to be aware that words have sounds that make them up. Okay, next slide, please. Working with your child's name is an activity that you can do now at home if you're not already working on it. So having your child be able to identify their first name. One way to work on this is to, write everyone's name on a piece of paper and see if your child can find his or her name out of that sea of names. That's going to be important for finding their cubby and finding their space in the classroom. Naming the letters in their first name and or working on the sounds of some of those letters. Being able to write their name legibly. This is great to work on with chalk or with paint or crayons, during the summertime, sidewalk chalk. Not only working on it on a flat surface, but also working on it on a vertical surface. So inviting your child to write, on an easel or, a wall, wherever you may have a place that it rinses off if it's chalk. But it's very important for that motor development to not only write it flat, but to also work on that letter development in a different format. You can write your child's name and cut the letters apart and have them put the letters back together in correct order. And then start discussing things like how many letters each person has in their name, whose names start the same way. So if your child's name is Maggie, Maggie starts the same way that mom starts. So getting them again to hear some of those sounds in words. Right, next slide, please. Handwriting. There's no expectation that every child should come to kindergarten being able to write the full alphabet correctly, but there are some things that you can do early to get your child started right. The first one is encouraging them to make letters that start at the top. One of the habits that we have to try to correct when kids get to kindergarten is starting their letters from the bottom, and it's a really tough habit to break. The reason it's really important is because it slows kids down when they don't form letters correctly, and it eventually impacts their spelling and the writing that they do. So getting that early handwriting starting from the top down is really important. Have your child practice writing and drawing for enjoyment. So drawing is a precursor to writing. We want kids to be able to draw circles and draw lines, draw diagonals. So drawing pictures, but also just some of those early writing strokes that can get them ready to write those letters. Giving kids practice with the alphabet, so singing the ABCs, saying the ABCs, making kids aware of letters, getting out magnetic letters, spelt letters, different types of letters for kids to practice and play with. And then learning those simple nursery rhymes. It's really important that even though there's a wide range of media available to kids, there's a lot of merit in teaching kids the classics, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Bingo, Hey Diddle Diddle. All those classic nursery rhymes and little songs help to build those early literacy skills. Wordplay, sounds, rhyming, all of that is really important.
Sarah had a quick question for, we're wrapping up literacy anyway. Had the question, will there be more advanced skills available to students who may be coming in with these skills? The short answer is yes. Classroom teachers will be ready to meet them where they are. They'll learn a little bit of that during the screening process if you bring your student in for the screening process. And we also figure that out pretty quickly in the first few days of school. And the teachers are ready to respond to the needs of each and every student they have. So they will be more than willing to meet them where they need to be.
Yes.
And then one more before we turn it over to Mrs. So we took care of the reading and writing. So Mrs. Meese is going to talk about the arithmetic now. I had someone who joined the call late wanting to know when the kindergarten screening is. So when you start the registration process, each school will send you a sign-up link. There's a day, most schools have one day in the spring, one day in the summer, that you'll be able to bring your child in for an appointment to get screened. So you'll get that information during the registration process. All right, Mrs. Meese.
All right, I'm ready. Beth, next slide, please. Thank you. In kindergarten, we will begin our curriculum with using these kind of foundational skills. We start with foundational skills and then we build upon those. And as Craig was saying, same thing with literacy and math. We meet kids where they are. We have different ways of differentiating, but students are going to all be exposed to our whole group lessons or our tier 1 curriculum. And we kind of start by doing lots of things with just number sense, but some things you could do at home to kind of practice are that practicing counting out loud and counting objects. It's important for students to be able to have one-to-one, which means, if you're counting spaghetti noodles, I don't know, I'm hungry. So that came to me. If you're counting spaghetti noodles and you know, okay, I have 5 here. Let's touch and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Being able to do that makes them more successful when we start counting larger numbers. Being able to identify their colors, sorting objects by color, finding shapes in their own environment and knowing what those shape names are. Going on a shape hunt, like a scavenger hunt throughout the house, outside when you're on a nature hike or something. That's always a great way to get students not only being able to do something and have those conversational skills, but kind of introducing some of those early geometry. Discussing the words like more or less. Position words, this is beside, that's under, choose below, that's above. Being able to use those things as descriptors, because we use those so many in our daily lives anyways. But you know, when I'm talking to a kindergarten, I go, oh yeah, go get a pencil. It is above this, or it's, oh yeah, your pencil fell, it's under the table. So we use it as not only for math, but in directions as well. Using counting in your daily routine, such as counting cups needed for the table, anything that you could do to kind of think about getting some of those early math skills going. Identifying numbers. We start in kindergarten really focusing on numbers 0 through 5 and getting good number sense down with those, not only identifying and counting and recognizing, but being able to use a lot of math manipulatives to count and break down those numbers. And then we quickly move into numbers through 10. And then another thing is finding patterns. We know a lot of students come to us with that already. They're able to kind of see those patterns when it comes to colors, but maybe patterns with shape or patterns with kind of thinking a little more deeply, like, why would this be a pattern? What do you see? What do you notice?
All right. So thank you, Mrs. Measy. We have kept Mrs. Hufker quiet this entire time, but she's getting ready to contribute now. And she's going to tell us, what is kindergarten going to be like? What are those first few days like? So take it away, Alyssa.
Awesome. So next slide, please. The first few days of kindergarten are going to be a lot of fun, a lot of activities where students are going to be just learning their friends' names. They're going to be getting familiar with the classroom. They're going to be getting familiar with the school. There's going to be learning stations that are going to seem like kids are just playing, but teachers are going to do lots of like observations to see just how their academics, their social, and their fine motor skills are. There's also going to be cooperative learning activities that are just going to be opportunities for kids to practice those peer relationships and to build on their social skills and just overall have fun. It's going to be a lot of new things for them, and it's going to be an exciting time. So we are going to get them really excited and want to come back the next day. And then some other information, Flyers Club is our before and after school program. If your child is going to need before or after school care, the information will come when you register your kiddo. Make sure that you sign up early because it does fill up. So if you are going to need that before or after school care, make sure you do that right away. Drop off and pickup information will come out from your building principal in August. They'll go through what the pickup lines will look like. And you will also find out the bus information for your child right before school starts. That will be on Infinite Campus, our school database. And you will also probably double check it with your kid's teacher right before school at that Meet the Teacher night or that kindergarten orientation. And then parent communication, we use a new platform called Parent Square to give out all of our information. You will be finding out more information about this if you are a new family to Lindbergh closer to the beginning of school. But you will get weekly information from your child's teacher and also weekly communication from your building principal. And that will all be done through Parent Square, which you will sign up for when it gets closer to school.
I want to add a couple things, Alyssa, before we go to your next slide. The bus information, one of the things I want to make sure that everyone's clear on is if your kindergarten student rides the bus, there must be someone at the bus. There must be an adult at the bus stop in the afternoon to meet them, to get them off the bus. First Student is the company we use for our busing, and they will not allow a kindergarten student off of the bus to the bus stop if there is not a parent or an adult waiting there for them. So just want you to plan ahead for that if your student's going to ride the bus. And I want to reiterate what Mrs. Hufker, sorry, said about Flyers Club. They have a finite amount of spots, and they have to keep ratios of how many adults to students. So if they don't have the employees, they can't just add students. So if you are going to want Flyers Club before aftercare, I would advise you to sign up for that as early as possible. And I would also advise you, we talked about the window for kindergarten registration. If you're on the fence, like, I'm not sure if this is the year, maybe we'll wait a year before we register for kindergarten, or we might decide to go to this private school, but we're not sure. I would encourage you to register as soon as possible. You can always retract that registration later, but we plan our staffing based on the numbers we get. So we make sure we have enough teachers based on our early kindergarten registrations. So it helps us. So I'm asking you the favor, please register early if at all possible. All right, Mrs. Hufker, I'll let you continue.
Yes. All right, this is an example day. Each school will look a little bit different. You'll hear more about this from your child's teacher in August, but we usually start off with play bins as morning work. So kids will come in and they will unpack their backpack, make their lunch choice, and then they will go to their table and just play with their peers and do different activities. Then we will meet on the carpet for a morning meeting, which will consist of like a calendar. We will usually watch the school announcements. We will talk, do like a morning meeting question every single day so that kids are starting to learn their friends' names and just learning how to take turns talking. Then we'll have a reading lesson, and then we will have reading groups where the teacher, and also we are really lucky to have another person in the classroom, it's called an LTA, come in and do reading groups. So the teacher and our LTA will be doing reading groups while the kiddos are doing different reading stations around the room. Then we will have recess and word work, which is going to be working with the alphabet, building words with magnetic letters or on whiteboards, and a lot of hands-on activities. Then students will do writing. Then we will have lunch and recess, and then we will have rest time. Rest time is about a 15-20 minute time. Kids can fall asleep, but it is a very short amount of time. Some kiddos do the first few weeks of school because they're just getting used to the change and that they're going through. But a lot of times kids will read books or color, and it's, you know, like I said, a 15-20 minute time. It's not a really long period. Then kids will go to specials, which are art, music, PE, and design lab. Design lab is a hands-on special where kids will do things like code, they will build, they will do different STEM projects. Then they will come back to the classroom and do math and science. We will have a snack time in the classroom. And then we will have playtime. Like Mrs. Eads was talking about, this is going to be a time where kids can play with the different toys around the classroom and engage with their peers. And then we will have dismissal that starts. Next slide. So how can you get your child ready? The first thing, and probably the most important thing you can do, is start discussing kindergarten in a positive way. Get them really excited. We will also have opportunities throughout the summer for kids to go to the school, to play on the playground, to start learning what the school is like, start meeting new friends, maybe even meeting their new teacher. So those dates will be on your school's social media, or a lot of times at kindergarten screenings, teachers will put out the dates for like kindergarten play dates. So make sure if you're in town to come join those. It's really a great way to get kids excited. Make sure that you're reading with your child every night. A great video that you can watch is The Letter Factory. I believe it's on YouTube, and I think it was on Netflix. I'm not sure about that anymore, but it's a great way for your kids to be practicing their letters and their letter sounds. Keep or start a daily schedule. Our classes are very routine. We usually do the same type of thing each day. So if that's not something your kiddo's used to, you might want to start making like a visual schedule first. We're going to wake up, we're going to eat breakfast, then we're going to brush our teeth, and maybe even checking off each of those things if that's going to help them when they transition to kindergarten. Practice those self-help skills like buttoning, tying, and zipping. It'll be really important once they get into school. And then use your environment as a learning tool. We talked a lot today about how you can make letters and numbers fun. Just keep doing that and practice. You can practice cutting and using Play-Doh. Is a great opportunity to practice with our numbers and with letters. and then slowly transition out that nap time. If your kiddo takes a really long nap in the middle of the day, like I said earlier, we only give about 15 to 20 minutes for a rest time. So you might want to start slowly transitioning that out, and then give your child responsibilities at home. When they're in the classroom, they're going to be responsible for their materials, their coat, their lunchbox, their backpack. So giving them opportunities to be in charge of things at home was going to be a really great thing to do. Next slide. And so here's some of our favorite book recommendations for books that you can read to your child to get them excited. One of my favorites is Clifford Goes to Kindergarten.
I like Jabari Jumps because it's about a kid who's scared and nervous, and you might have a kid who is scared or nervous for kindergarten or just the changes coming, and it's a good way to think about sometimes we have to be brave and do things even if we're scared.
My book recommendation is Chrysanthemum, and this is just a really lovely book, and it's got a lot of really rich vocabulary. It's got great pictures, and we use this one in kindergarten a lot to start talking about our names and how our names are so important to us, and they're really a part of our identity, and learning other classmates' names. And then it also goes through about feelings, and we talk a lot in kindergarten about feelings, how feelings can change, and how being angry is okay. Here's what we do to help us with that. Being sad is okay. Being excited about your day is okay. So it's a really great book.
All right, well, we have a little pause here before we get ready for our next slide. We've got several questions that I'll go ahead and address. So someone asked, when does registration start? It will begin on February 3rd. Sarah Doza is our district registrar, and she's hiding in the chat, and she wanted me to remind everyone that after you finish your application process and you submit your application, once it's approved, you will get an email confirming that you are registered. So I know a lot of people, if you don't automatically get the confirmation, you want to follow up, hey, did this go through or not? I'm one of those people. You will get a confirmation email after your application has been officially accepted and approved. Let's see, typical start end day for the school day. All of our elementaries, the official start time is 8:45 and official dismissal time is 3:35. But students can actually enter the building at 8:30. So we got a window of about 15 minutes in the morning before school starts. So that's when the buses unload. That's when parent pickup starts and everyone moves through. And then all schools will start their dismissal process at 3:35. One of the things also that Mrs. Doza wanted me to remind everyone is either during registration or during your annual verification in the spring, if you're going to need bus service, you must sign up for bus service. So you might ask, well, if I don't sign up for it, I don't think I need it, and then I need to add it later in the year, can I add it? Yes, but it could take a while for us to get you a bus stop established, even up to 2 weeks. So if you think you're going to need it, I would sign up. Just like Flyers Club, just like registering, if you think you're going to need it, I would go ahead and sign up early for it, please. Can a middle school sibling be the one who meets the kindergartner at the bus stop at the end of the day? Most likely, yes, but I would talk to your bus driver in those first few days, make sure that they know this is the siblings in 7th grade. I'm approving it. I'll be right there standing in the window. You need to verify that with your bus driver before we can absolutely count on it, though. Miss Jill from Parents as Teachers has joined the chat, and she would like to say, do families bring a mat or towel for rest time? Teachers?
At Kettering, we do a rest towel. I'm not sure if other schools do something different. Typically, it'll be listed on the school supplies list that you will get which one they prefer.
So probably that's a question that'll get answered during kindergarten orientation or meet the teacher night or those back to school emails. They'll let you know for sure. And then one last question for right now. And just remember that if you have a question, please submit that in the Q&A section of Google Meet here. If you are an ECE parent, I had one that was slightly confused about the email. So you should have gotten an email. And one of the things it asked you to do was log into Infinite Campus. That's our student information system. And you were going to choose yes or no. Yes, my student will be attending kindergarten at Lindbergh, or no, they will not. If you chose yes, you're going to be automatically rolled over. You don't have to do the full registration process. If you chose no and you've changed your mind, or if you were confused and you didn't think you needed to do it, then you will need to either go back and do that or go through the registration process. So hopefully that helps with that question. All right, I think we have the next slide, Beth. I think this is Claire.
Yeah, so here is the district calendar. So you kind of take note of some of the dates. As Craig has mentioned, February 3rd, the registration portal opens. You can save the date for August. You know, that's a lot of months from now, but August 20th, meet the teacher night, August 25th, first day of school. And well, you can read all that.
And once again, that QR code will take you to the registration page so you know what that looks like and be all ready for February 3rd. Next slide, I believe, is me. Some important dates. Once again, February 3rd is when things start. You'll get a link for the kindergarten screening date for your school after you sign up. Each school the building principal will be communicating summer play dates and orientations. They usually try to have at least a couple summer play dates, but I'll just go ahead and warn you right now, it's not unusual for one of those to get canceled because of extreme heat. We try our best, but usually when we're trying to have those is in the middle of the heat of summer. And then August 1st, Infinite Campus, as I've mentioned a couple of times, that's a portal, and you would log in. And on August 4th, that's where you'll go. You log in, and it would tell you who your child's teacher is going to be. But underneath that, I put soft placement because we always, that's who we intended for it to be, but we always reserve the right in the first few weeks to make some changes because we set all the classes up to be exactly 22 students. And then we have 8 students who decide not to come, and all 8 of those were in one classroom. We need to readjust things a little bit. So it's a kind of a soft placement to get things started. We always reserve the right to make a few changes if needed at the very beginning of the year. Doesn't happen very often. We just want everyone to be aware of that. And just a couple more slides here. So once again, there's the QR code, and that's the link. There's my name and my email address. So if you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask tonight, you can feel free to email those to me at your convenience. I'll do my best to answer those, or maybe I will get Mrs. Doza, the registrar, to help me out answering it, which she just sent me a text. So let me read. I'm just going to read this text live here. To clarify, you won't see the bus option in new registration. Bus signups available when you do your annual verification spring. So I misspoke. After you get registered, everyone K through 12 has to do the annual verification, and that's where you will sign up for buses. I think we have one more slide, Beth. So just once again, this is a slide from earlier. In case you missed it, so there's the window, February 3rd to March 23rd. And this whole video will be on YouTube probably tomorrow. So if you want to go back and watch it. And what if you say, well, I didn't get a chance to register till April. I missed the window. We'll let you register, but we want to encourage to get as many people registered as possible so we can start building how many teachers we're going to need in each building, how many sections of kindergarten in each classroom. So it really helps us out for those of you who can get registered within the window, please. And then I think that just brings us to questions. Let's see. How do the classes do bathroom breaks? Is it as a group or individual? Teachers will go over that a little bit more at their building orientation. Some of the buildings are set up where they have a restroom either inside the kindergarten class or right outside the kindergarten class. So sometimes they'll let individuals go like that. However, if we'll also take group breaks, like we're coming back from art or we're coming back from recess, we're going to stop at the restroom perhaps and take a group restroom break. So it's a little bit of both, actually. Presentation will be available to view again. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow. If you're an out-of-district teacher, is there anything we need to do? So yes, if you're a teacher and you're going to bring your child here, you will need to contact Mrs. Doza and get an out-of-resident form, and you'll fill that out. And if you can get that done before registration, that would be wonderful. I'll give another moment here for any other questions that might come up. And I want to thank Beth for running the slides for us. And I want to thank all of the teachers for being here. And I don't think you guys can see me, but in the middle of it, my camera just completely shut off. So I don't know why it just broke in the middle of the presentation. It's wonderful. Sarah Meyer raised her hand. Sarah, if you could put that in the Q&A, please. Or if you think of a question later, because that happens a lot. Oh, I wish I would have asked this. Beth, can you go back to the slide with my email on it? So if you think of a question later, chamby@lindberghschools.ws, just feel free to email me and I will get you an answer as soon as I can. And with that, I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. 46 minutes, not too bad. I don't think that's our record, but a pretty good job here. So thank you all for spending some time with us, and we look forward to working with you as kindergarten families next year. Thank you.